What's up, guys? Jeff here for Mad Hatters Reef, and today what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be starting the Pico Reef tank build. Welcome back to Mad Hatters Reef, and if this is your first time being here, this is where I talk about everything reef tank related. So if you love reef tanks like I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. So what we're going to be doing today is starting a new build. It's going to be the Pico Reef tank, which we've already recorded some of this stuff that what you should probably know about pertaining to the light in this week's Premium Aquatics video. So if you want to check that out, there's going to be a link in the description below, which will bring you over there so you can check out that portion of the video. And today we're going to start this build, so let's jump into it. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been kind of building up to the idea of putting a Pico Reef tank together. And it just so happens that Premium Aquatics had a new light that they wanted me to check out, which is geared towards Pico reef tanks. The Pico Pro is a light that was designed to fit on a glass jar, which is readily available at Walmart, also Amazon. It's called the Anchor Hawking Heritage Jar, and it's designed for the 2-gallon jar. Now, I made the mistake once I kind of talked with Jason, the owner of Premium Aquatics, about this project. I ran over to Walmart and grabbed a 1-gallon jar, thinking that that was a pretty decent size Pico reef tank, and got the light and realized that it was actually the 2-gallon jar that I needed. So I had to go back to Walmart and get the correct jar for that light, which at first I wasn't really all that impressed with the glass jar. It didn't look that clear, and it actually appeared like it was going to be kind of cloudy, but once I got everything together, I was really impressed with it, which I'll kind of show that in a little bit more detail later in this video. So if you want to check out the unboxing of the Pico Pro, it's going to be available over at the Premium Aquatics YouTube channel, and there'll be a link in the description below, which we always do a giveaway over at the Premium Aquatics YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, go over there, watch a video, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, and you'll be in the running to win one of these Pico Pro lights. So far as location goes with the Pico Reef tank, we're going to go ahead and put it on the desk. I think that that's going to be the place where I'm going to enjoy it the most and be able to watch it, you know, closely and enjoy it to its fullest. So I cleared off this portion of the desk right here. This used to be where my printer was. Got a new printer. It's a lot smaller. That one I do use a little bit, but not as much as I used to. So we're going to go ahead and put it right here on the desk. Alright, so this desk is pretty sturdy. It's held up a number of different aquariums over the years, but one problem that I did have is this little insert that was on it right here for cables to run in. There's one on each side, and I'm not really going to utilize it with the Nano, but what I was concerned about is having this like lip on the edge of it that was going to kind of make the tank teeter a little bit. So we went ahead and removed that, and then we're just going to place the aquarium over that hole. Shouldn't bother it any, you'll hardly be able to see it. So I have some sand here. It's a Tropic Eden sand that I looked at for Premium Aquatics quite a while ago. This is the Tropic Eden Tonga Miso Flakes. The typical size range on the granules is 2.7 millimeters, so it's fairly coarse sand. It's really good looking substrate, so it should work out pretty well in the nano tank. We're going to go ahead and give this a rinse just to see if there's any dust on it. Doesn't really appear that there's much dust on it at all, but we're just going to go ahead and give it a rinse, and this here container probably should be enough for the Pico tank. Actually, we'll weigh that out so we can figure out exactly how much sand we need. So that's about 4 pounds, so that's probably way too much sand, but we'll give it a rinse and we'll use what we need. Yeah, I didn't use much at all, probably about half of it. So I probably used about 2 pounds in there. That ought to do it. when I pour water in, there's definitely going to be a empty spot where the water contacts the sand. Maybe I'll put a plate in there or something to keep that down a little bit. But for the most part, that's about what I'm looking for as far as the substrate goes. The live rock, I'm not 100% certain really what to do with that yet. We're probably going to take a branch out of the water box and put that in there and call it good. I just don't know if I have a branch that's small enough to put in there, but we'll see what we can do. Alright, so I worked at this for hours, and I think I finally got it where I want it. As far as the substrate, it's probably about an inch to an inch and a half deep, and the one piece of branching live rock that I put in there seems to work pretty well in this setup. The one thing that I wish I could do, and it's up against the glass, which I'm not too worried about that, is have some type of little piece of rock here at the base. I think that that would kind of really bring the whole thing together and make it look a lot better as far as the aquascape goes. But if I was just going to look at it like this all the time, I'd be completely happy with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and fill up the water. Oh, we got to take a look at what we're going to put in here for heater and water movement as well. So there's not a whole lot to a Pico Reef tank. Really, you have the container, the sand, the rock, light, some type of heating device, and water movement. Now, during the cycling process, we are going to have the heater on, and we're also going to have the water movement device going to kick things off. This system, to get it up and running, we're not going to worry about a actual pump or return pump or anything like that to get the water moving. We're just going to use a good old-fashioned air stone and get that water moving that way. Hopefully it doesn't create too much salt creep. And the other thing that I'm concerned about too, where this is my desk, I don't really want a lot of vibration going on, and I didn't really think of that, so I may go to the store and try to find some type of doily or rubberized thing that I can put underneath this and whatever equipment that I have on the desk, so that there's no vibration, because I do have, you know, my mic here. I record for Saltwater Aquarium Radio right here, and I'd like to be able to look at this Pico Reef tank, but hopefully there isn't too much vibration, and even if there is a little bit, we'll try to reduce it before we completely find a new spot for the Pico Reef tank. Another thing to consider when you're looking for a location for a Pico Reef tank is fluctuation in temperature. Now, this room is probably one of the most stable as far as temperature goes in the entire house, even though that I have a window right behind this tank, because I have the 220 gallon just to my right, and then I also have the water box just behind me. So there's a lot of water in this room already, and it does a lot to stabilize the temperature in this room, even if the house fluctuates a little bit. Even without like the stove running or the heat on, this room stays fairly warm, and I even have to open up a window sometimes. So typically don't open the window behind my desk. I open the one next to the water box, let a little bit of fresh air in. But as far as the aquascape now, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to stick with this for now, but again, I'd like to find a fist size piece of rock to put underneath this branch and prop it up a little bit more, but we will live with what we got for now. I was lucky enough that I had one branch in there that I didn't need to break in any way, so we get to keep it put together, and it looks pretty cool. Even just like that, I'm pretty happy with it. It looks almost like the roots of a tree or something, but very happy with what we got so far. So what we need to do now is get some water in here and get the pumps going, the heater on. Actually, let's go ahead and grab the box and take a look at what we got going in there. Alright, so we got a box from Amazon today, and a couple of videos ago, might have been last week, not 100% certain. I'll go ahead and put the description in the link below if you like that. In last week's video, we talked about some products that are ideal for setting up a Pico Reef tank. We talked about the jar that we have the Pico tank in. We also talked about a couple other different pieces of equipment that are essential to setting up a Pico Reef tank. And what we got in today's delivery from Amazon Prime is some of those items, and we also got another delivery from Premium Aquatics, which I got to dig out. where we have the air stone and air pump, but we have a couple items that are going to go and make this setup a little bit easier. So first things first, I wanted to check out this pump. So this is not what is going to go into the Pico Reef tank right off the bat. This is a pump that we talked about in that video. Essentially what this is a very small fountain pump that can be used in an aquarium setting, aquaculture, and all sorts of different things. But I'm going to do somewhat of a do-it-yourself project here to make this a way in which that we can move water around the Pico Reef tank, but we're not going to get into that right off. We're going to worry about that and once we start introducing corals into the Pico tank, but that will be coming down the road. This is the heater that we talked about. This was the second heater, and it's a 15 watt, so it's, you know, upwards of 10 gallons. But what kind of attracted me to this heater is the fact that it's kind of no frills. It's very basic. You can't really mess with the temperature at all. It's not a whole lot going on. It's probably a little bit bigger than I would like, but you know, for a small heater, this definitely will do the trick. I kind of like how thick it is. There's no glass involved, and you know, hopefully it does the trick. Good amount of cord with it, so very simple, but this is what we're going to use to heat the Pico. And then some Dr. Tim's One and Only. This is for up to 30 gallons. We're not going to be cycling the Pico Reef tank in this week's video. We're going to do that next week so we can get into a little bit more detail. This is how I have been cycling almost all of my tanks for the last couple of years. Very solid product, very reliable. I was actually on a call with Inappropriate Reefer last week when we did the podcast interview, and he talked about really not relying or believing that this stuff works all that great, but for my experiences, this has been an absolute game changer. I've been able to successfully cycle tanks in as little as 5 days. Very, very solid product. This isn't a sponsored thing at all. I bought this from Amazon. Very, very solid product. I definitely recommend that to anybody. We got 3 things from Amazon Prime. If you guys want to take a look at any of these products, I'll put links in the description below if you're going to be doing your own Pico build. We'll get into the Dr. Tim's One and Only next week, and look forward to that video. So if you guys want to check that one out, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified when that one happens. And then we are going to be doing a do-it-yourself project with this little fountain pump to see if we can get some directional flow with this little guy, because what I'd like to do is just set this on the sand bed and have it so that it's, you know, swirling water around the Pico tank, which should be pretty easy to do with it being a glass jar. And then we're going to put this heater to the test. This is the 15 watt heater that we talked about in the must-have Pico items, and we're going to put it to the test. We're going to battle test it a little bit and see how well it works in this tank. So we got to go jump into the box that I got from Premium Aquatics and dig out the air stone and pump so we can get this guy filled up with water and get the lid on there and see what the whole thing kind of looks like all together. Alright guys, so we got a couple things here from Premium Aquatics, and we're going to kind of talk through how they're going to play a role in the Pico Reef tank. We have this air pump, which most of us that have been in the hobby for any period of time are pretty familiar with air pumps and what they do for aquariums. And we got air stone and, sorry for the noise, a little bit of tubing. Love me some yellow tubing. Alright, so we're gonna hit the easy button on this here airline tubing. So let's, alright, so we turned that yellow airline tubing into some clear airline tubing, so I'm pretty excited about that. But if you guys ever need some silicone airline tubing, this stuff I'm sure would work great for you, especially in a drip acclimation setup. Silicone airline tubing, definitely awesome stuff. Not so much for a display tank though. So we got the pump here. It is the OxyFlow air pump from Supreme. It's AP2. It's a single output air pump. Air volume is 73 cubic inches per minute. The max water depth is 3 feet, and outlet has one. It uses 1.5 watts, so minimal amount of power consumption there for those folks out there that are looking to not use a whole lot of power for an aquarium. So awesome stuff there. Oh, it's tiny. That's awesome. Very, very tiny. Very compact. I'm actually pretty happy with this. Old school has a diaphragm right there so it can suck in air. A little bit of a pre-filter, keep it from clogging. I like it when they have these holes, so like you can use a screw or something to hang this up against a wall, especially with the padded feet. That really reduces a lot of the vibration that can be heard with one of these guys, so that's always good. Airline tubing goes in pretty easily. It's a 1-inch basic air stone. Get that water moving pretty good. Connect that to the tube and we're in business. So as of right here, we can move water with that. So a Pico Reef tank doesn't need fancy pumps or anything like that. You can literally move water with an air stone, so that's always a good thing. Let's see what it can do. So what we're going to do now is go ahead, get some salt water here in the Pico Reef tank. I've been mixing salt water all week in anticipation of doing a water change and filling up this Pico Reef tank, so it's good to go. It's right where it needs to be. As far as pouring the water in here, I'm probably going to try to keep it mostly on the rocks just to eliminate the amount of sand blowing around. I did pre-rinse the sand like we talked about earlier in the video, so there will be dust still. It's going to take a little while for it to kind of calm down, you know, maybe 24 hours or so, but we're going to fill that up and get that going, get the air stone in there, the lid on, and see what we got. Alright, so we're going to put in the heater now. I'm going to go ahead and just stick it on the glass for now. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it towards the middle on the rock. I don't know how well that glass would hold up until it kind of proves itself. So we'll just leave it like that for now. One thing about a Pico Reef tank, especially where you're using a jar, you know, stuff's going to be exposed and you're just going to have to be okay with that, really. Then we got our air pump. Go ahead and undo that cord. It seems like there's a ton of cord on this air pump. And last but not least, the lid itself. Alright, so we got some things to plug in, and we'll get back to it in here in a second. Pretty impressed with it overall. Even the clarity, adding a couple of jugs full of water really didn't do much to disturb the overall clarity of the water. You know, there is some debris going on around in there. That heater kicked on for a minute. It's got a big red light, which I didn't realize it had, so it does tell you when it's on. And that little bit of an air stone, which air stones don't really bother me all that much because I've been working with aquariums for a very, very long time. But there is quite a bit of flow going on in there, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have this all cleared up and ready to go. I'm very excited about this build. Already kind of envisioned a couple corals in there, maybe some shrimp and a fish, but we definitely need to get that back hole filled up with some type of rock. So alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you want to hit the subscribe button, if you want to stay up to date on this build, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. Next week we'll do cycling, so keep your eye out for that video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week right here with a brand new video.